My name's Sam Estes. I'm with Sonicsmiths, and I'm going to be doing the walkthrough video for the Paul J Cartwright Solo Violin. Paul is an amazing musician who is featured on many scores, video games, and albums, including like Iron and Wine. He's been used on Outlander with Bear McCreary's scores, and video games like League of Legends. I mean, his credits are enormous. He's one of the first call violinists and a fantastic guy to work with, and one to bring his unique sound and sensibilities to a new library. There are so many great solo violin libraries out there. We wanted to do something a little different. So instead of bringing you a library that has every single articulation that's out there so you can perform Paganini or whatever it is you're trying to reproduce, we wanted to focus more in the pop, rock, and folk genre with a little bit of cinematic sound design and a bunch of fun articulations that can give you a lot of breadth and depth to what you're working with while still maintaining this intimate, raw, wonderful sounding violin. We recorded this violin in the Village at Santa Monica. You can go look up its history. There is so many rock and roll and folk and amazing artists that have recorded there. And it really captured the sound of the room that we were going for and that intimacy. Plus, they had some amazing outboard gear we were able to utilize to create the full mix. A lot of great mics that we used for the spot, close, and room individual microphone positions. The main page has the mix area here and the reverb area here. We wanted to create the main GUI to be very simple and to just get you going with a great sound. I've turned off the reverb here so we can hear all these mics individually. So let's go ahead and start with the full mix. Let me move the mod wheel. Yeah, there we go. That initial pop there was the mod wheel. Do not forget that the mod wheel exists. It's a very lovely sound, but very intimate, very raw. And this is with no reverb. We also recorded a spot mic. Close mic, which is a little bit further away. And the room mic. And put them all together, and you can get a nice full sound. And the ability to maybe work with it a little bit, give yourself a little bit more room. It's a very versatile way of mixing. If you notice, these mics individually may be a little softer than the full mix, but that's to give you some headroom so that way you can add them all together and equal the full mix. You'll also notice if I hit full and turn on the full mix, this automatically turns off the other mixes, because if spot, close, and room are part of the full mix, we would start getting some phasing, and that wouldn't be good for anybody. If you want to solo a mic, if say, hey, here's what's the room sound like or close sound like, you can do that. So that way we can add them together and have your mix. The other thing we put in was the routing. This allows you to route individual mics out to different outputs. So that way, like, say you wanted to have your room go to a reverb and maybe into the rear speakers if you're working in surround, or you wanted different processing on different mics, you could totally do that within your DAW. That's why we built this ability for you to go beyond just Contact's default out and enable those extra mix outs that you can do to provide quite a bit of options here for how you want to treat the instrument. The reverb control is very simple. We have a little bit more control in the effects, but with reverb, this is just a quick way of getting, say you don't have a reverb in your DAW or you're using the standalone, this way you can have a little bit of that extra reverb. We also included a room and a plate that Contact has within its software. So let's go to the settings page. This is where you can set up your articulations and map them to key switches. Let's start with legato. Here's the sustain. And if you wanted to, you could turn off the poly mode and force it to single note playing. So it would feature much like the legato patch, but without the transition samples. This poly mode is available on all of the articulations with the exception of legato and double stop legato, since those are monophonic to begin with. Next is the double stop legato. This is a very cool patch. This was meant to be a experimental patch, but ended up being so cool we decided to leave it in. And it is a little limited, but what we did is we recorded open strings on the double stop, with the lower string being the open string and the upper string being the one that you fingered. And on the violin, the lowest string is the G. And so if you notice, there is no G active here, G, A, or C. So that means the next string that's available is D. So that's D with the G string. And then if you play E, so that allows you to have the open G string play all the time. Then starting on A, you have the open D string. And then on E, you have the open A string. So we were a little crazy in doing this, but I think the experiment turned out really well. This is true recorded legato with an open string going at the same time. This is pretty hard to do and takes a long time, but felt like this is such a cool instrument. Here, let me play a little bit more. It's such a cool patch, and I'm so glad we were able to keep it in. All right, our next articulation here is sforzando. It is a articulation that is a little velocity sensitive. Here's what that sounds like. If you play shorter, you can get kind of that marcato sound, but a sforzando is basically just an attacked string note to a more mezzo forte, mezzo piano sustain. This is a one bow stroke thing, so it does not loop. It's good for either starting a phrase or ending a phrase. It's just a nice, fun little extra thing we sampled. Staccato. Then we have the Sul Ponte. This is your standard tremolo, but using the mod to transition between the regular and then to the Sul Ponte, which is where you take the edge of the bow and it creates a thinner, kind of more nasally sound. And just by using the mod wheel, you can blend between the two. Thought that was a really cool way of using this. Next, we have a tremolo rise. This is more of a sound effect that is definitely utilized in things like The Walking Dead and some of the other kind of more quirky and scary maybe soundtracks. And then the fall. And then he wanted to record a trem to a Sul Ponte rise. So you can hear it getting a little more creepy. We also have the fall version of that. And then we went to a more like a mandolin style Pitts trem. This is where he would finger an open fifth and then kind of tremolo on that. Really cool texture to have underneath. And then lastly, we have the hairpin crescendo. This is a recorded at 120 over 4 bars, 8 beats of crescendo, 8 beats of decrescendo, and then this is now tempo synced. So depending on what tempo you are on, it will continue doing this. It'll stay to the bar. Now we created a special release with this too. So when you lift your hands off and do a note off event, it still will release with a little bit of a decrescendo to help you shape it a little bit more. So that would sound like this. This is the full length. And my tempo right now is at 120. So. Just to give you a very natural way of decrescendoing or crescendoing without using multi-sample sets. And those are articulations. We do have one other articulation I didn't mention, which is the double stop sustain. So this is just the double stops without the legato transitions. So a way of giving you some really cool, like longer textures if you wanted to do that. But feel free to set this up however you want. And then let's look at the settings here a little bit. We've got the first knob here is the tight knob. The tight knob allows you to control how much of the sample is cut in. This creates it just tightens up the sample sets a little bit. We wanted to give you a little bit of room so you could feel where you would like that kind of offset to feel like. I would recommend keeping it at 25%. That's where I like it. Still keeps it nice and snappy, but gives you enough that transition sample. And I'll play an arpeggio and play against the tight, and you can hear it. So at 50% on the legatos on both double stop and regular legato is pretty much right at the transition. Anything more than that starts cutting into the actual sustained note. It kind of makes it sound synthy, but it also makes it very snappy. The rest of the articulations don't start being affected until you hit 50. This way, you can do the tightening of the legato without affecting the sample sets for the other instruments. And I'll give you a quick example. So here's staccato. This is the best example of this. So nothing happens here when I'm between 0 and 50, but once I start getting past 50, that's when it starts cutting into the sample. And this affects all the other articulations, including trem and sul ponte and hairpin crescendo. So just be aware of where you are with that tight knob and controlling it. The next one is timbre. This is just making something brighter or duller. If you use the controller command click on pretty much any of the interfaces here, you'll get back to whatever we have set as defaults. So if you start moving this and just want it back to the default 50, just hit command or control click, depending on if you're PC or Mac. And then width is just a stereo field. So 50% is the raw recorded. 100% kind of kicks it a little bit out of phase, and 0 is mono. So if you did want to monoize the instrument, do like a spot mix here and, pan it off to the side, you could do that. I'll turn off the reverb. To help place it a little bit if you want to do that. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility with what the instrument can do. So let's move over to the effects page. The effects page gives us some examples here of some of the built-in effects that Kontakt has that allows us to manipulate the sound a little bit. We left transient in. Transient's kind of a shaper, an attack and sustain shaper. It helps to bring out the instrument a little bit if it's feeling just a little on the, it's not kind of punching through your mix. You can turn this on and it'll punch through the mix a little bit. It's kind of like a compressor in some ways. Off. Transients can bring out a lot of clicks and a lot of really sharp attacks. Smooth just makes those sharp attacks a little less, but still provides a bit of the punch that we're looking for with this. Filter is what it says it is. Here's a low pass filter. Here's the high pass. Delay is a simple delay. You can set your time in millisecond values or sync it to your DAW so you can have note values. Here's halves. Here's eighths. Feedback is just the length of the delay, how many delays there are. And ping pong makes it go back and forth, left and right. And if we increase the mix, it's the wet-dry mix. Now, the sync and time will be slaved to whatever your DAW is doing. So if you're at 120, it'll be doing at 120. And lastly, we have our reverb. We talked about this a little bit on the main page. This gives you decay. Damp we add here. So damp just makes the reverb brighter. If you turn it up, it dampens the hall. If you bring it all the way down, there's no dampening. It's just high frequencies. Decay is how long it lasts. And then, of course, mix is the dry signal to the wet signal. And then we also have and room. Of course, you can use your own reverbs in the DAW. We just provided this largely so if you did want to use this in standalone or we're just playing with it, you have some reverb to work with. All right, our next patch here is the sequencer. This is a great sound design and percussive tool that Jacob does on numerous recordings, where he turns his instrument into more of kind of a chuggy effect instrument. And we did our best to capture what he does and put it into a sequencer. We have 4 different styles of articulations that he did, and they'll change up here in the top. You can see one is called scratches. Here's what that sounds like. And then we have fourths, and then fifths, and then these longer scratches. We have 3 different versions of that. Now, as you play, each note consecutively goes into the order cue of these steps. So if you played G, C, D, it would play step G, then D, then C on each step as this goes through. The bar here at the top shows each step that advances forward. So if I just play one note here, you can hear what it's doing. If you play 2 notes, I'll give you 3 notes. And of course, you can play the notes as you go along. Add some scratches in. And we wanted to keep this simple instead of assigning each articulation with a note pattern into each step and do this. We figured you'd play it in and it'd be fun. Of course, you don't even have to use the sequencer if you don't. You can just hit stop. It'll take it out of sequence mode and you can build your own. That way, if you want to use your DAW to program this in instead of using a sequencer, you can. Just a great way of getting some variety. Let's dive into the GUI here a little bit more. The arrow below each step signifies if it's going to be a really short or a longer version of the articulation. There are 2 different sample sets. This knob here, the rate knob, controls the step duration. So you can go all the way up to half notes or all the way down to 16ths, 30 seconds. So you get some really cool patterns, really cool things moving on. You can change the length of your steps here. So that was 11 steps. That's why it sounded kind of cool and funky. You could just make it your standard 8-bar step. One thing I forgot to mention is these yellow notes here, the scratches, aren't part of the sequence just because they're so long. It would sound weird if you sequence them in, so they're meant to be accents. Swing is what it says it is. It just starts delaying every other note. Our last knob here is the mod selector. This is modifying the value of each of these steps, the velocity value of each of these steps. The first one that you can select is a velocity modifier. So if I play really quiet on the keyboard, the top velocity that's shown here will only go to the maximum velocity that I'm playing on that note. Now the cool thing is I can change each individual note velocity. So I can play really loud and then a couple notes really soft. And when it triggers that one step that note is associated with, the maximum velocity that I've set based upon my keyboard trigger will play back. The last selection here is the mod selection. This is CC1, which means the higher you have CC1, the louder those steps will sound. Continuous here means that the sequence will continue to run. Doesn't matter if you do a note off or restart or whatever, it just will keep going. It'll pick it up in that sequence, so you can just have it constantly going in the background. If you hit retrigger kind of cancels out the continuous, because this just means whenever you trigger a new note, it starts at the top of the sequence. Latch just means whenever you press a note and release, it will stay held until the next set of notes. So if I pressed 7 notes, now the sequence has restarted with those 7. And I don't have to hold down the notes. I can just trigger new events and get new sequences. A flat and B flat here start and stop your sequence. So this is a way in your DAW to be able to control when the sequences start and stop. So all I'm doing is triggering A flat and B flat. You can also do this here on the GUI as well. Of course, you can save these sequences if you want to. Let's say a quick drop down here. The other thing you can do is copy and paste these scenes together. So if you really liked what you're working on with A, you could hit copy, go over to B, paste. And so then that way you can start working. Maybe you wanted these guys to be shorter, but a very similar pattern. There's so much you can do with this library. It's really, really cool. The effects page is the same as the regular instrument page, transient, filter, delay, reverb. Transient works a little bit better here since they are shorter, more percussive. And then your mix page is the same mix page as we had in the other instrument, so you can choose your full or mix, your spot close and room together. So that's the instrument. Really hope you enjoy this. We had a lot of fun building this instrument. Really happy it's going to be coming out on the market. Yeah, hope you enjoy it.